If you knew you were enough, what would your life look like? What would love look like? This is the Enough Factor broadcast, where we're redefining what makes you enough in life and in love. Now here's your host, Suzette.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Enough Factor podcast. My name is Suzette Virnon, and I am your life coach and relationship solutionist. And I am so happy that out of all the podcasts you could be listening to right now, that you decided to tune into mine. What you'll find each week is that I endeavor to really keep it real and to give you some practical reasons for my opinions, my perspectives, my insights, and the tools that I suggest on this podcast. And today will be no different. If you're new, the mission of this podcast is to amplify 3 critical factors. I've observed them as 3 critical factors of enoughness. They're your voice, your value, and your vision. For I've found that when these are working in tandem, meaning that they're serving you, your life tends to be more fulfilling and your relationships enriching. Today was inspired quite by accident, honestly. I was sitting on my couch watching Star Trek Voyager for the umpteenth time and observing Captain Janeway, who is the first female captain in the Star Trek universe. Now, some might argue that Madge Sinclair's character is the first one, but to have an entire series dedicated to them, definitely Captain Janeway. And what I've observed of her has really impressed me. For not only is she a resolute and very commanding leader, but she does not lead with an iron fist. She is powerfully feminine and courageously vulnerable. And it does not cause the people on her ship to think less of her. In fact, it causes them to think most highly of her and to truly trust her ability to lead, trust that they are valued, trust that she is not one of these people that is flexing her muscles just because she's in charge, but she's very authentic, heart-centered, resolute in her leadership. She has the heart of an explorer. She has the mind of a scientist. And she has this ability to have fun and to see wonder in things that would normally cause most people to be absolutely afraid and apprehensive. And so I was watching her, and one of the things that dropped in my mind quite by accident was how she treats people on her ship, namely the males on her ship. She's not devaluing of them. She's not condescending of them. As a matter of fact, her first officer is a male. And there is such a rich dialogue between them of understanding each other's roles, knowing how to navigate, the hierarchy between them, their roles, but yet developing a trusted friendship, a deep and abiding friendship. They clash sometimes, they bump heads sometimes, but the one thing that is always true and is always is their center is their high regard for one another. even when they don't agree, a high regard where they can speak freely, where they can speak from the heart, where they can disagree vehemently, where they can, it's just a beautiful thing to observe. And to be honest with you, in my growing up, that was not common. It was not common to see a relationship between a man and a woman that was so equally respectful, yet they weren't competing. She wasn't trying to compete and be verbose or be masculine in it. There was no spirit of competition. There was no penis envy, right? She was comfortable in her feminine skin. He was comfortable in his masculine skin. And I have not seen this kind of pairing and complementing in any of the other iterations of Star Trek. Now, somebody might remind me of one, but this one has me captivated for so many reasons because, as you know, relationships are my thing, especially relationships between men and women, because those relationships have been complicated, to put it mildly, I think since the beginning of time. And a lot of times because of the complications, there is a battle that goes on between men and women to see who's going to end up on top, who's going to have the last word, who's going to have the last say, instead of a spirit of cooperation and mutual regard and respect for each other's differences. The differences that come with being female and the differences that come with being male, and the perspectives. Not trying to change it, not trying to criticize it, but an understanding, a deep and abiding understanding, a curiosity. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And so it made me dig even deeper into my romantic life and my romantic experiences. And I have to tell you, I did not see this kind of kindness, this kind of respect, this kind of regard modeled for me. I did not even think that a man and a woman could really be friends and be romantically involved at the same time. In fact, my parents taught me that men and women could not be friends because of the sex thing, that would always override everything. And that as a result of that, and as a result of men's proclivity toward needing and wanting and pursuing that, a man could never really be a friend to a woman. And while something inside of me felt like that was just, it could not be true. It just could not be true. Yet my experiences, my romantic experiences, seemed at times to prove my parents very, very right. And I want to provide you today what was missing. What was the missing thing that I feel like by sharing this with you, that perhaps your pursuit, even in that romantic connection, even in pursuit of happily ever after, whatever your reasons and your goals for your relationships are, whether you're conscious of the real reasons or unconscious of them, I hope that you will add to that kindness. Have you ever experienced a kindness in your romantic life to the point that even if it ended, it was a kind ending? I never experienced a kind ending. It was always dramatic. It was always hurtful. It never was kind. And it would make you wonder, can kindness even be a variable, a component, attainable when a romantic relationship ends? And so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. One of the things that I really loved when I heard the story of Meghan Markle and Prince Harry was that when people were telling her about him, when her friends were telling her about him being an eligible bachelor and all these things they were saying, he's handsome, he's this, he's that. She said, but is he kind? And that stuck with me because up until that point, I never thought in terms of kindness being part of how I vetted the success or failure of a romantic relationship. And so back to Janeway, I noticed that through the arc of her adventures as the captain of the Starship Voyager, I've had the opportunity to see her as the captain in that role, as a friend, as a confidant, resolving issues between different officers on the starship, different species, cultures, backgrounds. And I also saw her in romantic situations. And one of the things that I can say throughout was that she was feminine and that she was kind. Regardless to what happened, no matter how long it lasted, because all of them had to come to an end because her duty as a starship captain and her duty to the people on her ship would always cause her to have to choose that first. But she was never mean-spirited in it. She never came at her lovers with, well, you know I'm a captain. What are you talking about? What do you mean? I captain a starship. What do you mean? She never came with that energy. Even when they were very, very much themselves in their relating to one another. No matter how different that was, one of the things that I always saw in her romantic relationships was kindness. When they disagreed, there still was that mutual respect. And if they crossed the line, she stood courageously in her authenticity. She stood courageously. If she didn't know the answer, she says, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do now. All I can tell you is this. She was always courageously vulnerable, admitting, putting her feelings out there, not trying to pretend like she knew everything, but so honest, so touchable, so real, and gave her lover the chance to just be himself. If he was upset, if he reacted, whatever, she gave him the right. She gave him the dignity of his process. And when he'd come back and say, I'm sorry, she said, you were under pressure. I get it. Can we talk about it? Can we work through it? There was always this sense that a grown-up was in the room. And I think that should be a new definition for kindness. That kindness means that regardless to whatever happens, a grown-up has entered the room. A grown-up, someone with oversight, someone with emotional discipline, someone with a sense of understanding of the human dilemma, the challenges that go into people's reactions, that the adult has entered the room. And so I started looking at reasons for a lack of kindness, especially in our romantic relationships. And of course, I always use mine because I've had quite a few and 2 marriages. Thank God the third's a charm. I love my now husband. I don't plan on anything disrupting this good, rich soil of a relationship that I have with him. I enjoy him. I like him. And I appreciate him being in my life. But before him, there were 2 failures and subsequent failed attempts with emotionally unavailable men. So again, the reasons for my lack of kindness, my experience of a lack of kindness when the relationships were ending. One was overstaying my welcome. My intuition sensed something was off, sensed that it was becoming too hard. I was tolerating too much. My insides sensed it was time for it to be over. But that stick and stay thing would override it. This desire that maybe I hadn't exhausted all the things I could do that might could salvage it, might could help him understand me better. So he could be kinder, so he could be more understanding, so he could be more respectful. And so instead of honoring my internal awake system, I spent more of my focus trying to find some way of salvaging it. And I think that the difficulty and the uncomfortable energy and the hostility and all of that was a byproduct of me overstaying instead of admitting and accepting this thing is not working. And now a special announcement. If you've tried to do love on their terms and it didn't work, I've got the answer. Love on Your Terms, a free 5-day masterclass that takes you out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat where you belong. To learn more and to sign up, go to SuzetteSolutions.com. That's SuzetteSolutions.com. It's September 12th through 16th. It's free. It's now. That's SuzetteSolutions.com. I look forward to seeing you there. As much as you want it to work, as much as you would hate to hurt his feelings, as much as you would hate that here's yet another relationship that didn't make it, the truth of the matter was this thing was headed for a crash. And instead of sitting with the truth of that, I was doing all I could to try to salvage it. So by the time it got to the ending, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all on either side. It was volatile. It was ugly. Or even if it wasn't that in an overt or blaring way, I still walked away from it. I still limped away from it, feeling like I'd failed, feeling like I had lost something, in my quest to try to salvage it. The second reason I feel like my romantic relationship endings were dramatic, were not kind, was because of resentment. I resented the way it ended. I resent it. And I really believe that underneath the need for closure is two things: resentment and guilt. And they might be, two sides of the same coin. I believe that's a reason why so many of the women that I talk to struggle with closure. Is because of resentment over the way it ended. Resentment on one hand, guilt on the other, because they're wondering, was it something I did? Right? And just by the fact of asking that question means there's guilt underneath that question. Guilt is sewn into that question. And so that's a reason. That resentment from the way it ended. Because the ending is more than just the goodbye, the door slam, the throwing the clothes out the window, right? The blocking that person from your social media. It's all the things that led up to it. Right? All the little volatilities, all the little aggressions, all those mini dramas, M-I-N-I and M-A-N-Y, choose whichever one, that led up to it. And then there's a resentment over the ending. A resentment that I hear a lot is, but I put so much of myself into it. I tried so hard with it. I gave so much. I went through so much. I invested so much. And that leads to the third reason for lack of kindness when relationships end, is we take it personally. We look at it as a personal attack or a personal affront to everything we sacrificed for it, everything we put into it. Every time our intuition said, nah, he's not telling you the truth, and you decided to believe it only to find out later he was lying. It's that personal attack, personal disrespect, personal offense that has contributed to the lack of kindness at a relationship ending. We take it personally. Could you even consider the fact that sometimes, most times, it doesn't have anything to do with you? It really, really doesn't. Yet we take it personally. And then the fourth reason that I hear sometimes when people are talking about, their relationship ending, they'll say, yeah, I guess I was just too nice. I was just too nice. And I did a podcast episode. Was it a podcast episode? It was either a podcast episode and or a post on social media. I think it was a post. Yeah, it was a post on social media, where I created a quotable where I said, love is kind, not nice. And I feel like so many times we confuse being kind with being nice. But love is kind, not nice. Nice is a manufactured response. It's something we're taught to be, right? It's something that we're taught, like play nice. It's a politeness that we're taught by our parents, by our culture, by our community. We're taught to be nice. But nice is not always nice. When you feel like you're being forced to respond in a way that's inauthentic, then you don't like nice. I remember being a child and someone wanted to play with something that I had, a toy I was playing with. And they would rip the toy from my hand, run with it, and I would go in the room complaining they took my toy. They took my toy. And then my mom would say, but Suzette, that's your company. Be nice. And the thing I didn't like about nice is nice did not take in consideration the behavior of the other person. Regardless to how they treated me, I was told to be nice, which meant I was supposed to swallow my own value, put theirs ahead of my own. That right there is an assault. It is, to me, being nice is a taught self-betrayal. That you're taught to betray yourself by being nice. But I'm not talking about nice. And that's why I wanted to bring it up. Because when people say, I think I was too nice, then that lets me know, oh, you've been socialized to tolerate aggression, lack of care, disregard, disrespect under the umbrella of being nice. You've been taught to erase yourself. No wonder you don't like it. No wonder you're upset. No wonder. Kindness does not require that you betray yourself. Quite the contrary. Kindness is something that comes from a very healthy self-respect, a very healthy sense of your enoughness, a very healthy sense of your value. It's a matured healthy. Because see, when kindness is mature, it doesn't have to compete. It doesn't have to demean or disavow someone else being valuable too. It's not that I lift myself up and put you down, or that I have to lift you up and put me down. Oh, no, no, no. There is a maturity, a regalness, a courageousness, a disciplined view to kindness. And so perhaps the reason for the bad breakup is because there was too much nice going on and no kindness. Because one of the most kind things that you can do for someone that you love is for you to show up honestly and real. To me, kindness is being genuine. To me, kindness is not allowing them to believe something that's not true. kindness has too much regard for yourself and the other person to play games with them, to waste their time, to not treat them with the utmost regard as you're treating yourself with that same regard. Right? So these were 4 of the reasons that I identified for a lack of kindness in relationship endings that I wanted to share with you. Because my desire as I get older is to become more kind. That means becoming more okay with my humanity, with my strong points, and with my weak ones. With the divinity of the Father, his thumbprint being made in his image, but also being deeply human, with the understanding that I can be wrong, I can fail, I can miss the mark. It's all part of being human. How can I be kind? Even when we disagree sharply and vehemently and passionately, is there still a kindness in me? That I can be kind whether I agree with you or I don't. I can be kind in saying no. I can be kind in holding my point. I can be kind in being resolute in my authenticity. I can be kind even if you tell me you don't think this is working between us, or you just disappear. I can be kind. And instead of vilifying you or vilifying me, I can choose a kind response. I can choose kindness. But it's a muscle. Just like you have to exercise other muscles that have not been. It is not something that you can just think yourself into. It's a transformation that has to take place by your mind being renewed, new again. That's a process where the real you, the you that desires kindness, becomes stronger than the familiar you that overstays, resents, takes too personal, and is too nice in her relationships and her relationship endings. So I hope that in my sharing with you what just kind of came up for me while I was watching TV, of all things, I hope it really challenges you to dig deeper. I hope it encourages you to sign up for my upcoming Love on Your Terms Masterclass. That's September 12th through the 16th. I look forward to seeing you there. So until next time, just in case nobody's told you, I want to leave no doubt in your mind that you're worthy. You're worth it. You are more than enough. Bye now.
You have just listened to the Enough Factor podcast with your host, Suzette Vernon. To get notified of new episodes or to dig deeper into today's topic, become a subscriber. And while you're at it, tell us how we're doing and what topics you're interested in. We appreciate your feedback and your reviews. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are enough. Podcast.